Welcome to Panel Surfing. I'm Steve Sanu, and sitting next to me is Tyler Crook, artist of upcoming creator-owned comic Harrow County. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thanks so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
Well, so I want to talk to you a little bit about Harrow County because you've illustrated quite a few comics during your time in the industry so far, and I was wondering what makes Harrow County unique compared to some of the other projects that you've taken on so far?
Well, for one thing, it's creator-owned. This is only the second creator-owned book I've done. Last year I did a book called Bad Blood that was all watercolored and hand-painted stuff. And I'm using a lot of what I learned from that to sort of up the stakes on Harrow County and take it to the next level. Typically, like in a comic book production, you'll do your layouts, and then you'll do your pencils, then you'll do your inks, and then you'll send that in to get lettered by someone else. And what I'm doing is I'm doing my layouts, and I'm doing my lettering, and then I'm doing my pencils, which is more of an old school kind of process because it just helps with a lot of the compositional stuff.
You know, it's interesting that you mention some of that old school feel to the book, because I think one of the great aspects of the series that you mentioned that not many people might know is that the entire series is drawn, inked, and watercolored by hand. There's not very much digital going on here, if I recall correctly.
But yeah, it's all analog, all old school, and a lot of that comes from before I did comic books. I worked in the video game industry, so I spent 12 years with my face this far from a computer monitor, and now it's like any chance I get to avoid using my computer, I take it.
You know, one of the things about Harrow County is that it is a Southern Gothic sort of backwoods horror comic, and horror has a really rich history in the comic book landscape. I mean, what horror stories inspired you as you went into the design process of Harrow County?
The number one influence, I think, was Swamp Thing, and as much as I love Bernie Wrightson, it's actually Nestor Redondo, who came right after Bernie Wrightson, who is just like the creme de la creme of horror comics, I think. His stuff is so beautiful, and he has a real sense of nature and really loving to render trees and things like that. And that's a lot of what I'm trying to bring to Harrow County is, because a lot of the stuff takes place out in the scary woods, and so there's a lot of time spent trying to get the trees to be scary and creepy and cool.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Tyler. Really looking forward to Harrow County.
It's my pleasure. Yeah.
And be sure to check out all developments for Harrow County on the Harrow County Tumblr. Tyler, again, thanks so much for being here. He's Tyler Crook. I'm Steve Sanu, and this is Panel Surfing.